welcome back. Steve Dempster, Dempster Guitar Studio, coming back to you with the Where Stuff Comes From series that you've been hopefully enjoying and working your way through. And in this particular video, I'm going to be hitting it's a blend of a review and activity that I need you to really know that you're good at. But of course, if you haven't seen the previous few videos, you should check those out first because everything's kind of in sequence. And if you haven't, I'll just add those links in the notes below, and you can check those out before you check out this one, because it may not make sense if you don't check the others out first before you come here. So this video is covering the issues that I sent, I think it was number 3 and number 3A. They kind of go together. And really what was happening, if I can just open up, or pull out rather, number 3, there it is right there. This particular installment had you starting to think about what it means to alter some of the natural notes when you're creating a major scale beginning on a note other than C. So very quick review, excuse me. If you play the natural notes of our musical system, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, starting on C and play them in order from C, you get this, of course. I've got my electric here today. It just felt like it'd be kind of fun to do that. You've got C. I'm going to play this on the 2nd string, 1st fret. You've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And you should know by now that when you play those natural notes out in that order, almost by default, they form the major scale interval formula. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Some people like to use whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. I get that. There's different terminologies. Eventually, we will actually rename those intervals more specifically. But for now, they are what they are. So, other than C, when you begin this process, you will be forced, compelled, to alter some of the notes to create that interval formula, to maintain that interval formula. And in number 3, I sort of, it's a spillover from number 2, but in number 3, I left you with this idea. If we built the scale starting on the note G, and I just chose the G on the 1st string here, if I play just the natural notes, I get this. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And as I've said many times, if I play it without talking, because you need to hear it, I think you'll agree with me, it doesn't quite sound like a major scale. Something's off. Most of it sounds like a major scale, but something's off. And we covered this in the 2nd issue. So there's the sucker that's out right now. That happens to be an F note. And then, of course, I'll follow that up with a G. So there's something off with the F. Now, disregarding that it's an F, let's just look at the interval formula. This is just review right now. The interval formula, we've got tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, a semitone where there should be a tone, and then finally, of course, this F to G is a tone that brings me to the end again, to another higher G. But I don't want a tone there, I need a semitone. So there's something wonky going on up here. Well, here's what's wonky about it. If I come back to this 12th note fret, this is an E. The F beside it is a semitone away, but we don't want a semitone. We need a tone. So that note had to get pushed up 1 fret. And if you recall, when you raise any note by 1 fret, you are sharpening that note. So the question became, what's the name of the note that we just moved it to? Well, it's not G, because G is right beside it. I hope you're following me on this. Obviously, it's not F, because F is just below it. So it's something else. Well, it turns out to be something called F sharp. And when I play that note, F sharp, that now allows me to end it with a semitone, as we say, resolving back into G. So let's take a listen now with our corrected note. We've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Perfect major scale sound now. So the idea here in issue 3 is to explore this whole notion of what sharpening notes is all about. And I give you a little discussion on what sharpening a note is, and indeed what flattening a note is, which we cover a little later on, not in this issue. And I want to point out some confusion that seems to perpetually exist with regards to terminology we use to navigate the fretboard. I'll give you a quick example here. If I play this note, I don't care what it's called. If you can tell what it's called, if you know the name of it, that's good. That's a good thing. But if I took that sound and raised it in pitch by 1 fret, an awful lot of the time, if I ask somebody to raise that up in pitch, go up, excuse me, go up 1 fret, they often move in this direction toward the head of the guitar. Now there's a couple of things happening here. Why does somebody think that that is up when they hear the note itself going down in pitch? I hope you hear it going down in pitch. So that's not up. What seems to be up about it, even if somebody's holding the guitar parallel to the floor like this, a lot of people do have it angled slightly up, but even if they're holding it this way, which a lot of people do, I'm just looking in the monitor here, their perception of up is that you want to go further from the floor or further from the center of the earth, right? And so if you look at the angle of the neck, being here is higher up from the floor than being here. So to them, that's up. It's not correct. It's not up. Up on the fretboard refers only and always to up in sound. Interestingly enough, if you move up from here and physically go higher up to the lower sounding string, everything's confusing. If I'm back at this note and I say, go up to the next string, people will do this because it's physically higher. But technically it should be the other way. There should be another string here which is even higher sounding than the C. So it's a little confusing to get used to, but here's the thing. The terms only refer to, at least the way I use them, only refer to sound. They never refer to physical direction. Unless I give you a physical direction, they never do. So low sounds are here, down at this end of the guitar, away from your guts, as I mentioned in the picture. And high sounds get closer and closer and closer to your guts. So you can hear this when you play through. You can hear it going higher. Right up. Closer to my guts. Okay, you get the idea. Also, the guitar goes from a high sound, which is lower to the floor, to a low sound. So if I say something like get onto the next lower string, that's what I'm referring to. The next lower string in sound. It's about sound. So I threw a few pictures in here. I'll give you a quick look at one there, if you can see it. All right, just down here. To help make sure that your orientation to sound is correct. So basically what happens now for the rest of that issue is I give you some exercises. Because really the one thing, if I wanted to stop the series right now and said, that's it, we're done, the absolute most important one thing that I would like you to walk away with the ability to do is, if I said to you, play me a B flat, don't use flat yet, don't do that, Stephen. Play me a B major scale, that you would have the ability, based on previous training, to locate a B note anywhere on your fretboard. And because we've been working on one string, it kind of makes sense to find a B note that's at the lower end of the guitar, so that you have some headroom to move up. Although anyone will do, and you'll run out of space, and that's the reality of it. You may not complete the full scale, but you can in fact do it, and I'll show you how to do that right after this demonstration. Here's a B, 3rd string, 4th fret. That's a B. Now if I just apply my knowledge of the interval formula, no trouble. I just look down at the fretboard and I see tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Easy. So looking at it from the point of view of the interval structure should be easy for you. The second thing that I need you to be able to do, takes a little longer, is to actually name the notes. So I have a B. Little thinking, I'm going to give away one of the answers here. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Your ability to create essentially any major scale that may be called out along one string, just like that, is the skill that we're looking for. Through all this discussion, we are looking for that one skill. And so, for the remainder of issue 3, I give you a series of exercises to spend some time with. For example, asking you to figure out the G major scale, which we kind of already did, and then the D major scale, and then the A and the E and the B, and something called the F sharp major scale. And don't worry about why it's called that. That can get a bit confusing, I'll admit. But what I do is I give you the beginning and the ending notes, which is the easy part. Here's an example. You can see that, I hope. And your job is to fill in the notes. Now, the only thing you need to think about is when you fill in the notes, or the letters, you can only have one example of each letter in the scale. So you can't have like an E and then an E sharp. The E sharp has to be something else, an F. So what you would do first is just fill in the letters. If it starts with E, write in the letters E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then it ends on an E. And then go in and adjust those letters. Don't change the letters themselves, but alter them with a sharp. Adjust it so that it fits tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And I give you some hints at the bottom of each of those exercises. I'll tell you up front that the E major scale has 4 sharps. So if you end up with 5 or 3 or 2, you know you did something wonky. But the point here is that you do it. And I say this at the bottom. I'll say don't hack the process, where everybody seems to be into a hacking frame of mind where they want a simple solution to things. Those things work. There are ways to figure this stuff out that we've been talking about without actually understanding what it is you're doing. It's kind of like solving a math problem and getting the right answer, but not actually solving it using the proper process. Like it was almost luck, or it was some other factor that drew you to the right answer, but you can't actually explain how you got the right answer. So in a sense, you don't really know what you're doing. Hacks to me do that. There are ways to get you to get things correct without actually knowing what you're doing. I'm trying to avoid that for the time being. I want you to understand what it is that's giving you the correct answer so that you could effectively explain it to somebody else. So issue 3 then has a bunch of exercises at the end of it. The goal of which is to make sure, if you do them all, and I hope you do, that in a pinch you could play a major scale from any note you choose, still along one string. That's the goal. In the third issue, the 3A issue that's accompanying number 3, I simply give you some fretboard answers because I don't want to leave you hanging. I don't want you thinking, gee, did I get it right or not? So what I did is for each of the questions in issue 3, I give you answers on fretboards in issue 3A. The thing is, don't open 3A and have it sitting beside you while you're trying to solve the exercises in issue 3. How good is that, or what good is that going to be to you? It doesn't solve any problems. It just perpetuates laziness. Let's not be lazy about the process. Give yourself an honest-to-goodness effort at solving these things, because it's going to contribute to your deeper understanding of this thing we call the major scale. Also, as you create these solutions, if you think you've got the answers, go and play the thing that you've created, given what notes you've decided belong to a particular scale. Go and play it up and down one string. And if it sounds like a major scale, you're probably on the right track. Sometimes the way people might write in the letter names is a little off, but they're still producing the right sound, so we're getting very close. Then, as you probably already are deeply aware of, you need to make music with these things. So if you come up with, let's see, we'll come back to B major. I'll give this one away a bit. Here's the sound of a B major scale based on the interval formula only. Oh, I got some bad tone here. There we go. All right. Now, I just kind of made a bit of music there, but I'm going to be a bit more specific about it. So I come up with the notes, got my interval formula, get some kind of a beat going. I tend to use backing tracks. Sometimes I write them myself. Sometimes I'll just find them on YouTube and play to it. Something like that. Now, even though I started here, this is an interesting thing. I'm not limited to just start and end there. I can include notes below that note to fill in the rest of the string. If you think about it, we talked about this before. There's a B, and then, there's the B. I can play B, A, G sharp, F sharp. I can go downward from there. I could do the same thing here. B, A sharp, G sharp. I can use those notes just as easily as I can the notes going up. So what this means is I've got the full string now at my command to be able to play something in the key of B major. saying. If you don't take some time, oh, and maybe I'll go, yeah. Just at the end. Okay, so what you're doing there is pulling together any technical abilities you may have or theoretical knowledge you may have of the key of B, and right now it may only be the scale itself, that's fine, and you apply it to your playing. By technical, what I'm referring to is, your use of slides and hammer-ons and maybe large leaps from one note to another. Whatever current skill set you have, you apply it to making some music there. That's very important to be able to do. So, the one thing, if I leave you right now with the one thing that you should be very comfortable with at this stage, is if I say, please play for me an E major scale, that your brain now has a template that will allow you to very quickly go and find an E, because you understand the layout of the notes, maybe just on a few strings really well and some other strings not so well. Start with what you know. Let's find an E. Hey, there's an E. Go and play me an E major scale. Burn that sound into your brain. Come back. See if you can take the time to figure out what notes you played. You played an E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. That takes a little longer. That's okay. We're not in a rush here. Good foundational skills generally take longer because they're going to be used for the rest of your time on the instrument. You will not regret having put the time in on this material to help you quickly understand other important concepts in guitar playing and music in general much more quickly. Guaranteed. You fake your way across this material and remain familiar with it rather than know it, if you know what I mean, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Is it work? Yes. Does it take time? Yes. Does it sound really cool, and are you playing Van Halen licks up and down the fretboard? No. Can you push that joyful stuff aside for a while and spend time on foundational thinking about how music works? I bet you can, despite the fact that we're living in an era right now where everybody wants to play and look cool, but not necessarily have strong substance underneath what they're doing. So, I know again that's my bias shining through, but I'm seeing it all the time. It almost is more important for people to look good doing whatever they're doing than to actually understand what they're doing. You know by now that's my opinion on it. If you don't agree, I can't make you change your mind. But I am going to continually push for the fact that what you do on your fretboard will be far better off in the long run if you have a grounded foundational understanding of what's going on, so that you can make connections to other concepts, instead of randomly looking for information here, there, here, there, here, there, and never ever knowing how it connects. Next video up, number 4 in the series, the 4th issue I submitted. We're going to hit the flat keys. We've kind of done the major keys right now. And, well, we didn't kind of, we did. And then I'm all caught up with the videos, and I'll get back to writing up some more PDFs and putting the video and PDFs together for you simultaneously. So I hope we're on the right track together. I hope you're doing the work. Steve Dempster, Dempster Guitar Studio. See you in the next video.